transport test. We'll have to trick it because I don't have labels to scan, so I use the active label uh, web page to give me serial numbers that were sitting in inventory. So, anyways, you come into transport plating. Normally, I mean, you'll come into a log on screen. And we've got these buttons over here: part families, routing, tags, unload, and config. Let me check config. I want to make sure. All right. Printers are pointed to my local printer. I don't think they'll print just through the VPN, but I didn't want them going out to the floor. So you have part families, and this is, it's almost. I mean, it's I copied it sort of from Clark.
Right.
They didn't have bill of materials, but it's kind of like that. You've got part families. There's additional data on here, but they do have the basic. This is how they controlled, what parts went into what. You have load part numbers, and then they come out as unload part numbers. It could be manufactured to manufactured or manufactured to finished. But I import all of these part families, and each part family can go to a specific bar. The bar is kind of like the rack that goes through that they dunk it in the tanks. So they have sometimes many duplicates of the same bar. They just have a different label for them. Um, so they're set up to have special, to fit the parts. Some bars handle multiple part numbers, lefts and rights, fronts and rears, um, combination of those. Um, and they have two processes, bright and satin. So it's just the two different finishes that they deal with. Um, but you can change the bars that are associated with the uh, the part family. You can add a new bar. You can edit the bar. Um, and it shows the current number of cycles, supplier, number of racks on the bar, whether it's active, the current location, sublocation group, and then sublocation. Different ways of they keep track of where the bars are at. And then we can and also change the load quantities. Let's see, why isn't that changing? 253. There we go. Is it just going slow? 150. Something's not. I'm. This is this part family. 253A and 253B are the bars that are currently assigned to that. If you wanted to assign other bars, that's how you would do it. You would add the bars to that part family. So it's nothing changes over here. Just as you click, you have to add it to the part family. And for each part family, you have the load part number, its part description, unload part number. Like I said, it could be either manufactured or finished. Um, the when it's manufactured, it typically means that the output part numbers or unload part numbers of manufactured part. It still has to go through the DTAB station, and then it gets its final part number. Standard packs, as they're unloading, alternate pack, and then this new cardboard pack. I added that as an option, so that's not going to have any values from the Clark system and a default crew size. So that's part family, pretty basic. Right now, I've got it so that if they select something and they try to do an update, and it's no longer a valid, I do a check to make sure that the component part number, the load part number, is in the bill of materials of the unload part number. If it isn't, then it's an old part family. The part numbers are probably incorrect since they changed from uh, Polybrite to roll stamp. So they either make a new part group. Um, I would recommend that because then for backwards compatibility, they have we have old stuff pointing to these part families, which were old part numbers. Um, although the reports are really geared towards the new stuff. If they have to go to the old for history or whatever, we might have to give them some ad hoc views or something, and they can query the database. But I had to sort of abandon the hard requirement of backwards compatibility for everything. It was too difficult. So that's part families. Easy,
Is
straightforward.
is the part family is just your mechanism to configure parts being loaded onto the load bar, what's allowed, what's not allowed.
Right. It groups them. It groups them logically. So every time you go to do this part family, commonly these 4 part numbers are going to be loaded on the bar. But sometimes, and you'll see it when we go to load. It'll take all the parts that are in the part family and assume you're going to load all of those onto the bar. You can remove. Let's say you don't want to do these 2 bottom ones. You can remove those not from the part family, but from the bar because it makes a copy.
Right.
It makes a reference to the same part numbers on your bar. So, but yeah, it's just a way to group and manage, what goes on which bar, what's allowed, what's not.
Okay.
All right, routing tags. Routing
Okay.
tags are what, it's the process of loading the bar with parts, and they create a tag. It's a paper tag. It's sort of continuous paper that comes out of the printer, as opposed to a label, because it could be 2 parts long. It could be 6 parts long, and they for each of the parts loaded on it, it takes up so many inches of the paper. It feeds it out as it's printing it, and then they'll clamp the tag onto the bar before they put it into. I don't know. Somehow they remove the bar or the tag from the bar, and obviously they're not dipping it into the
Right.
chemicals, and they keep track of the tag, and then when they unload it, they've got that same tag. I don't know. Somehow they keep them in sequence. So when they come and unload it, they could scan the tag to know what's in the bar, and we'll see that. All right, so I can create a new bar, and it defaults to the current date and shift, and it defaults to bright, which is the more common process as opposed to satin. So as you change the part families, because remember the part families are based on the process, so it kind of changes the part family. There's a part filter. They can scan if they've got parts coming in. They can scan the part number on the WIP label of the load part, and it will find the part on there. And it'll narrow the list and show you what part family it is belongs, what family that part belongs to, and then you can change the crew size if you need to, and select the bar. If there's multiple bars, you can select the right one. Next, now see here, there's where for that bar, these were the 4 parts that were in the part family, so it assumes you're going to be plating all 4 of those. And like I said, you can remove part. That one, let's say we're not doing that one. So then let's say you're just going to plate those. And then once you get this part done, then you can go into scan containers. Now, I'm going to go back to another one where I've got some parts, but so let me go back, and I'm going to print, because that was the new one we just created there, but I'm going to go to this one here and go load bar. And it just has a 1 part number, right? And you go to scan containers. So this is where we're scanning the containers of the WIP parts coming in. And this is where I've got to sort of cheat and use sort of the active label locator, because I don't have really labels to scan, right? And keyboard. And this is where currently it prompts you for the raw material lot number, which is on a sticker, a green sticker that they currently put on the the WIP containers out of injection. So whatever that is.
Okay, Art, I want you to know I'm grunting and saying yes, except I have my mic off, so you don't hear anything.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do another one. Let's see what we've got there. Partial quantity was 32, and so we all only need 10 more, because now this is the thing that really makes this difficult is the container quantities coming in don't match the bars. The container quantities going out don't match the bars. So those parcels created when you load, and there's parcels created when you exit, when you unload. So it adds all kinds of complexity there. So you can see here, this is another quantity of 32, and we'll put this one on there like that. See, yes, and then we're going, and as long as I'm scanning from the same, it defaults to the same lot number. So I mean, because normally they're pulling from the same stuff, so they don't have to enter it in every time. But hopefully, at some point, we'll have the data in the database, so I can pull it, so it won't have a problem there. All right, so then that was number 52. So let's say right now we've got too many. We only need 42. So we've got to take out 22 out of here, right? So we're going to create a partial out of that one. And it says, please enter the partial quantity to return to inventory be 22. So then it's 32 and 10. And it's going to print a partial WIP label that it's not going to print, just because I'm connected to roll stamp. But you can see there the partial, it generates a label, which is good. And they can put it back into inventory. It's got its own serial number. So that on the next run, they could use that. So then let's say we're done. I mean, when you can reprint partials, you can remove the partial. We can edit the lot size, lot information. Let's say we forgot something, things like that. Missing label. If the labels come in and missing, you can enter the quantity. And we don't want that one. We'll just delete that one. And let's see, remove orders. No, we're going to remove. Oh, let's see, keyboard 610. Of course, this is easier when you actually have the labels to scan. So 9786. All right. So you can do all these different things. Go ahead.
So what you're describing is there is a person with a workstation standing in front of where they load parts onto the bars.
Yep.
And you're defining the load. There's all kinds of business rules that associated and ease of use rules that you have put in. And when the load is complete, is that when you print that white paper, or is that white?
Yep.
Okay.
When you're done loading, you print the tag.
And that tag goes somewhere and magically is used on the unloads.
Right. No, I also had the ability to inspect, which I thought they were going to inspect parts off of these containers. But they inspect more so when they unload. Even so, I don't know if it's a time thing, it takes too long but if there was a lot of scrap in there, a lot of defective injection parts, they're plating them unnecessarily by not inspecting them, but it may be cost prohibitive to, because it slows them down. But the functionality is still there. You can go and inspect the containers, and this is where I have their design. This was sort of copied from or similar to the Clark system, but it defaults to the good parts, and then you can start scrapping parts out like that.
Can you show that to me just run through one part.
Right. I'm doing a scrap two
Okay.
parts, right? Scrap two parts, you can hit the plus or the minus, or you
Okay.
can hit a button. So if they had, 15, they didn't want to hit the button 15 times, but if it's onesie twosie, they can go like that. I show, we geared off the select top defects. Now, this is really from standard production. Um, so it's by the workstation, you can select the top defect codes because they have so many of them. They've got all of these different defect codes. So they could select the top ones, and then this list is just showing the top defects. If they wanted to show all of them, it takes kind of a long time to load. So don't do it like that, I guess. But if they had to, they can show all of them and then go down, find it, and so forth. And you can sort on the defect names, defect code, all that. So we instead of having 10 now, we inspected, so we've got 7 good and 3 scrap, right? So there's 7 good, 3 scrap. And the partial, I mean, normally you wouldn't do that. We wouldn't have
Right.
right? But we would have done the scrap first, and then when you're all done, then do the partial, and then it puts it back in inventory. So now we're kind of short. We've only got 39 on there, but just for demonstration purpose, fine. And let's see, I also I display a calculator if they need that little, if they have to have some difficulty doing the math of what they've got to subtract and that kind of thing.
Right.
So that's done. And then
So now the parts are loaded on the bar,
yeah,
and is this bar always moving?
no, it's stationary. It's
Okay.
stationary. It's in their station while they're loading it now, and then somehow the conveyor or whatever picks it up and then starts moving it into the system. And then you can from here, after you load the bar, that's when we just load, we would print tag, and it would print the tag out.
I'm going to ask this stupid question. Did the Clark system why did we decide to continue to use the paper instead of?
They still need that for the actual plating system isn't Clark. It's a
Right.
different system, so it needs to have a serial number, the routing tag number, and there's some. I think that's the primary. Where's the part family? I can't remember how it. Let me show you this. Not that Clark.
So
No, I don't want that.
So in your statement that the plating system is actually independent, they use data on that slip somehow to communicate with the plating system.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to bring up this plating Q monitor. I think it's pointed to live, maybe not. This Q monitor here is what Jim Clark gave me. So this is all still his code. And this is actually looking into the plating system through, I don't know if it was pipes or what it was. So this is what's going. The plating system's got all these different station numbers, and they mean something. And it's not just sequential. Everyone has a different chemical in it. So depending on what the recipe is, they go to different tanks. They could skip tanks, jump over it, So this is what sort of the high load driver, I guess, for the unload. He can see what's coming out. It's kind of goofy to me, but they understand it. It's the same logic. I mean, it's the same program that they're currently using, so nothing's changed there. So that is the and then the web version is this actually goes on the high-low. They have a web version, so I just had to change key monitor. Yeah. So the high-low just has a web version on it, and they run this version, the EXE, on some computer somewhere. As long as this is running and capturing the data, then the web version shows the same data. And it's just,
And so the truck driver knows what's coming out,
yeah.
picks it up, and does. Is this
Well, they know what.
telling him?
Well, they know what containers to bring to the unload station. So because they have to go grab the containers that match the parts, right? Because the unload parts containers are different, right? So that gives him a heads up on what containers they got to bring to the unload station.
Okay. And these containers are they hangers? Are they specific
they're-
going to?
Yeah, they're regular racks or containers, that they pack parts in, and some of them are whipped. Like I said, some parts that are whip parts that have to go, so they have
Do something.
somewhere else. But the finished parts, they get into finished containers that go to the end customer.
Okay.
Right.
And so the function here is that screen tells the end of line forklift to go get what container, because those parts are coming out and they got to fill the container with it.
Right.
Gotcha.
All right. So that's the load process, right? So you got it in there, and it takes roughly 3 hours from load to unload to go through the process, 2 to 3 hours, depending on. And then here's the unload process. So the ones in green were already unloaded. And let's see which.
How do you identify it's unloaded? Do they scan or enter or touch the screen or what?
Oh, well, they're going to report production for. Let's see, 986. Let me just go back. I just wanted to see which one. 986. Now, why isn't that showing up? 986. Load. It should have. For some reason, that one's not showing up. It was 986. Oh, I'm not sure why that's not showing up at the moment. But you would, the green ones are already reported. The white have to be unloaded. So they would pick it like that, and then would inspect. And this is where they've got, now they're unloading, and actually they've got 6 people that are unloading parts, and somehow, originally I had this designed to be at each of the operators, the inspectors, and they would all have the parts just coming down this conveyor belt, and they're pulling them off as they 3 on one side, 3 on the other, and they grab them as they come down, and they would mark scrap or whatever. But they didn't want to do it that way, so there's only one guy at the end. Somehow the operators are going to communicate to the end of line guy. That's how they're doing it now. I've got so many. It seems kind of goofy. I don't know how they're because if there's a lot of scrap with different scrap codes for all the different operators, I don't know how they really efficiently transfer that information from the inspector person to the guy at the end of the load, end of the line that's going to report production, but they can. All right, so we know that there was 39 good parts on there coming through, because we didn't have the full bar. Remember, we scrapped a few, so it was only 39 to begin with that were going to be plated. And they can, it's the same mechanism here for reporting scrap. Select top defects, all the same functionality here. And then hit done. So then we've got 37 good, 2 scrap. No, it's still not. It's inspected, but it's not reported. So it's sort of a 2-step process. You inspect, and because you could go. Like I said, I designed it so that I thought they were going to be different operators. So now the report operator would come in here. Okay, this is reminding me that this was they wanted a NAG so that they can include, like I said, when you unload, they can create partials as well, right?
Right.
So they'd say, okay, I got a partial out here. If I need it, I can go get this partial, but let's say, because that's in inventory, that was the last one that's in inventory that was not a standard pack. All right. So of plated 39, 37 were good, two were scrap. Then you can pick the container type, whether it's a primary, they've got different pack size. And you can see as I change these, it sort of recalculates how many full and how many partial racks it's going to be. So let's say I'm going to include, let's say use 32, and I've only, let's see if I add, let's say I had an alternate pack. I'd have 2 full and a partial of 9 coming out, but I want to use that partial that we had, you know. I would have scanned it. Okay. So now it uses that quantity of 18, it tacks it on. So there's going to be 3 full racks with now another partial of 13. It would spit out a partial of 13. So you just verify all this before you record production, that's what you want. And then when you record it sort of, again, confirms 3 total full, 1 partial, 3 with 13 pieces for part number, proceed recorded good, yes. And then again, for the 2 scrap.
Okay. I have a question on the previous screen. How does the user identify what load bar he's working out of?
Somehow they get the tags on the bar now. They, before when they're bringing the bar out of the tanks and into the unload station, they reattach the tag. So it's got the serial number on it. So it's got this serial number on it, the tag number, right?
So all you have to do is highlight, and then it goes through the system.
Highlight and press the report button. Okay. And I reported production now. So we've got the 3 containers, 3 full containers of 14, which was this alternate standard pack, and then 1 partial. Right. And then I just recently added the ability to reprint. So if they wanted to, if one didn't print, they can reprint it. Would go print out. You can, if they make a mistake, they can delete this whole thing and say, "Oh, we can't. I didn't mean to do that. We've got to use, 1 thing of cardboard." So let's say I delete the production. It'll delete all those labels, right? And say we want to use. We got to use 1 container of cardboard, and its standard pack is 12. Oops, sorry. Standard pack 12. So now as I change those, it's recalculating that. So we should get 3 full, 1 cardboard, and 1 partial. Right. It's 112, partial of 1, and 3 14s.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so now I've unloaded and reported production.
Yep.
And then everyone's on their merry way.
Right. And then you can see that one's now green. They wanted pallet pack, so I had to include all of the code in the scripting for pallet pack with, because they do GM and all that custom master labels. Correct. So I had to copy script code and retarget it with a different parent. The code was set up. It uses callbacks to the parent, which normally it's production reporting. But now it's plating, So I get, it's communicating back with the plating application as I'm doing things. So I had to retrofit the scripting in the plating script. Anyways, that's kind of standard, all the pallet pack stuff.
Okay.
They have unload instructions. I don't know if they might not have them there, but it just sort of tries to open up the PDF, and it's something that they'll have to get working properly. Make sure that all of those instructions are at that location. All right. So that's unload. So that's that. Then we've got plating monitors. So this is beyond somebody else's station. So this is just a high level, sort of an andon sort of for plating. So it gives you your plating performance, gives you the racks inspected, what the target rack should be based. That's just a system setting that we have that they can set. Let's see, different, the scrap quantity and the yields, and then it has the Pareto of the defect codes that were recorded when they scrapped, and then the family yield, sort of similar information down there. Then there's this was the set target bars, but that's just Nico will set that whenever, but pretty much it stays set for quite some time. Then there's reports, load, some of these load shift, do that, unload by family. Now again, they haven't focused a lot on the report for accuracy. Most of the testing has just been on functionality, the loading and unloading and this and that and the partials and the cardboard, and it's just unbelievable how many different things they've brought up. So we haven't scrutinized the reports, and they said that's sort of coming up. But these are reports. Load defect Pareto. Oh, that's load. We didn't do that. Oh, unload. That's the same that was on the status monitor. And tag detail history. This is another. Sort of throws the tags. It'll show your load information here and then unload information on this side. So the ones that we unloaded, we'll have this additional information. If we go back to something that they did, we're not going to have any information there. So that's why it doesn't have the complete backwards compatibility.
Right. Okay, so we have load, we have unload, we have the reports. What about load bar maintenance?
Yeah. Load bars. So it gives you all the bars. As I go through, I increment cycles, total cycles. They've got part of the bar entry originally is the PM cycles. They enter that in. It keeps track of the last time a PM was done. And then it sorts on based on how many cycles until a PM is due. So if it's over 10, it's in a green state. If it's 10, between 10 and 5, it's yellow. If it's between 5 and 1, it's orange. And then when it gets red, and when it gets into the negative, it goes PM due. And you can sort these things. That's how I do it. It's better to sort on this cycles until PM if they want to, or the cycle, on the bar, and sort on the bar, I should say. So
this is in the current system, correct?
Yeah, they have this. I mean, this is
so
mirroring their current management, their load bar management.
Okay.
So let's say they do this one and perform PM, and it's been a while since I've looked at this. Let's say we're going to just do you're going to add an internal PM. They have internal supplier, bar repair, and new bar. So you add, and then they have to go through and if I've got double, it looks like I've got double. Yeah, so I've got some. It's double hitting somewhere in the query. It's based because I can see it's Jack and me somehow, so it's doubling up on things. So that should just be a single list of the item numbers, But they have to go through and answer all of these and mark it as, complete. Then
Cool.
there's they can see that was edit. Oh, that if they need to go back and edit that particular PM, right? And then bar history. Let's see. Some of these, who knows? I'm not sure which one. And again, we haven't gotten quite this far. So I may have not copied the history,
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
So,
and then they can move the load bar, to a particular location. That's, when they're going to set it aside. And then again, PM instructions. I think this one's going to load. So whatever. See that's what the bar looks like. So there's different racks, number of racks on the bar, and they're set up to specific for the part,
Yeah.
Right.
So I would expect that to have, a part being like 50 inches long and it sits in that.
Right. I think these are the parts in there, the long thing here. Could be wrong. No, that one isn't. There's no part there. These look like parts.
Yeah. And the part description
right.
implies that it's a long part.
Right. So quite quite complex system, quite involved. I mean, just the plating process itself, which all has to be done and maintained. Low bars, part family inquiry, low bar locations. Okay. All right. These are just the definition of low bar locations that they move it out to. And see all these many different, they even got dollies that hold the bars, so they've got their blue dollies or different colored dollies, so forth. These.
Do they handle maintenance on the dollies differently than on the?
I don't think so. I don't think they have maintenance on them. I mean, because the dollies don't go into the tank. You just set the rack on it, the bar.
Right.
The maintenance on the bars, because they're going through chemicals, they get chemical buildup and all that. So it's required. The dollies don't require it.
Okay.
So that's about it.
As I know, it's been a hell of a lot of work. Looks good. I'm going to be taking this and playing it a couple times, and then I'm going to be sending you some questions and literally say, can I have a screenshot of this or a screenshot of that?
Yeah.
I don't think that the recording will allow me to sort of take a snapshot from it. So what do you think are the next steps? I don't have any problem with you spending, many more hours on this other than I don't know. Do you know what we got for this, Tina? Have they paid for it?
Yeah, they have. It was like a little over 100,000 for the whole project.
Yeah. So I think we certainly, I think, made money. But in saying that, do you need me to push on finishing up the testing and going live, or are they managing their time with you well?
I think it works pretty good. Nico's really sharp, and I mean he was already figuring out how to cheat the system in some things, but because he's just been around it for so long, but then I find some things that he does, and then I have to make corrections. But like I said, there's a couple things like the reports, we still have to scrutinize those, and if there's some, and that one, the maintenance thing was doubling up, I gotta make a note on that. Um, we have another set of testing that typically finds some things. It always seems they always seem to find something.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
the
think
neat-
it's good. I think it's getting close. We haven't gotten Jackie is another guy. He does the maintenance stuff, and he's kind of hard headed. And I had to really talk him into doing something a certain way. And originally he didn't want to do it. He wanted to do it the hard way, and I would have had to change the schema. And at the time, I was trying to still maintain the backwards compatibility. And so I think what I came up with, I can't remember the details now, but what I came up with, I think he was finally happy with, but he hasn't gotten involved with the testing yet. It's mostly been Nico and Jack and another engineer guy. I can't remember his name, Leonard or something like that, was involved in the last one. And I think he said Steve was around for one of the tests, the last test, but Nico or Jack didn't think he was paying all that much attention because he was on his phone a lot.